Okay, buckle up, because this one still gets me choked up, even thinking about it. You know those days where you just feel off? Like the universe is whispering something you can't quite hear. Yeah, that was my Tuesday. I just finished a soul-crushing shift at the cafe, the kind where you smell like burnt coffee and existential dread, and decided to take a shortcut home through an alley I usually avoid. It's not the safest spot even in daylight, but I was running late and frankly I just wanted to be in my pajamas watching bad reality TV. The alley itself was your typical urban decay symphony. Overflowing dumpsters, graffiti that looked like a toddler's fever dream, and that distinct metallic tang in the air that screamed city. I was halfway through, head down, scrolling through memes on my phone, when I heard it, a tiny whimpering sound. It was so faint, I almost dismissed it as the wind, but something in my gut told me to stop. I paused, phone tucked into my pocket, and listened. The whimper came again, a desperate, tiny cry, and this time I could pinpoint the direction behind a stack of old, rusted metal sheets leaning against the brick wall. I hesitated. I'm not exactly brave. I'm more of a call animal control from a safe distance kind of person. But that sound, it was like a tiny broken heart crying out. I crept closer, my heart pounding against my ribs, and peered behind the metal. And there, curled into a pathetic little ball, was a dog. Or, I think it was a dog. It was hard to tell. It was covered in matted fur. So thick and tangled it looked like a dirty, gray rug. And it was crawling with ticks. Hundreds of them. They were everywhere, in its fur, on its face, even in its ears. My stomach lurched. I've seen bad animal neglect cases before. But this was something else. The dog was so weak, it could barely lift its head. Its eyes, though, were wide and terrified, pleading. I could see the pain, the sheer, agonizing pain, etched into its tiny face. I knew I couldn't leave it there. Not like that. Not in this state. But what could I do? I didn't have a car, I didn't have any animal rescue supplies, and I sure as heck wasn't equipped to deal with a tick infestation of this magnitude. I did the only thing I could think of. I called my friend, Sarah. She's a vet tech, the kind of person who carries a first aid kit in her purse and can calm a panicked horse with a single touch. I explained the situation, my voice trembling, and she told me to stay put. "Don't move," she said, her voice firm. "I'm on my way." While I waited, I tried to comfort the dog. I talked to it in a soft voice, telling it everything would be okay, even though I had no idea if it would be. I found an old dirty towel in the alley and gently draped it over the dog, trying to shield it from the wind and the worst of the cold. The ticks were relentless, crawling onto the towel onto my hands. I tried to pick them off, but it was like trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. Sarah arrived about 20 minutes later, her beat-up Honda screeching to a halt in the alley. She took one look at the dog, and her face turned white. "Oh my God," she whispered. This is bad." She had a crate, a blanket, and a whole arsenal of vet supplies in her car. We carefully lifted the dog into the crate, trying to be as gentle as possible, but even the slightest movement seemed to cause it immense pain. The ticks were still crawling, their tiny legs clinging to the matted fur. We got the dog into the car and rushed to Sarah's clinic. The next few hours were a blur of antiseptic, clippers, and the sickening sound of ticks being plucked off. Sarah worked tirelessly, her face grim, while I held the dog's paw, whispering reassurances. The dog, a small scruffy terrier mix, was severely anemic from the blood loss caused by the ticks. Its fur was so matted, it had to be shaved completely. Underneath the filth and the parasites, we found countless wounds, sores, and scars. It was heartbreaking. It took hours to remove all the ticks. We gave the dog fluids, antibiotics, and pain medication. We named him Lucky because it was a miracle he was still alive. The next few days were a roller coaster. Lucky was weak, but he had a fighter spirit. He ate small amounts of food, drank water, and even wagged his tail a little. Sarah and I took turns staying at the clinic, monitoring him, talking to him, just being there. The story spread quickly. Sarah posted pictures of Lucky on her clinic social media, and people started sharing. Donations poured in. enough to cover his medical expenses and then some. People wanted to adopt him to give him a forever home. And then, a week later, Lucky took a turn for the worse. He stopped eating, his breathing became labored, and he wouldn't respond to our voices. We rushed him to the emergency vet, but it was too late. The damage was too extensive. He was just too tired. We were devastated. We had poured our hearts and souls into saving him, and he was gone. It felt like a punch in the gut. But amidst the grief, there was a strange sense of peace. We had given him a week of love, a week of comfort, a week where he knew he wasn't alone. He died warm, clean, and loved, not in a cold, dirty alley. The aftermath was a whirlwind. I did a few interviews. People were touched by Lucky's story. People wanted to know how this could happen, how an animal could be so neglected. It sparked conversations about animal welfare, about the importance of reporting animal abuse. And then, something unexpected happened. A woman contacted Sarah, claiming she recognized Lucky. She had lost her dog a few months earlier, a small terrier mix, and she thought it might be him. She came to the clinic, and when she saw Lucky's picture, she burst into tears. It was him. She told us his name was Buddy. He had been her companion, her best friend for years. She had searched for him everywhere, but she had given up hope. She was heartbroken that he was gone, but she was grateful that he had died, knowing he was loved. This whole experience changed me. It opened my eyes to the suffering that exists in the world, the animals that are neglected and abused. It made me realize that even small acts of kindness can make a difference. And it taught me something about hope. Even in the darkest of places, even when things seem hopeless, there is always a chance for kindness, for compassion, for love. And sometimes, that's all that matters. Lucky, or Buddy, he was a small dog, but he left a big impact. And I'll never forget the day I found him in that alley. Lucky's story, it's a powerful reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can change a life. And your kindness? It matters too. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a like. Sharing it helps us spread awareness about animals in need. And if you want to see more stories like this, where hope shines through even in the darkest of places, please subscribe. Your support means the world. Thank you for being a part of this journey.